I actually have plenty of things to be doing, but it's, let's say it's hot, so I don't really want to be indoors. It's a bit of a shame that the folk next door are cutting their grass, because that's making a fair bit of noise, but you know, it's got to be done. We all have to do things. So I'm going to be doing some planting. This is sort of a little bit like archaeology. One of the neighbours tells me that nobody has dug this garden for more than 50 years. So, you know, journey of discovery, isn't it? Well, that was, I was just getting ready to film something. I heard this aeroplane engine. I thought, go and look and see what that is. There's the peony. Look, isn't that gorgeous? What I was about to do, the Tony La Tondeuse, I've got a little job to do to tighten up the jockey wheels that stop the mower deck from getting too close to the ground. Not a big job, just a case of tightening things up, one that a mechanic like myself can cope with. Except I'm in France, my spanners, my wrenches, oh no, let's stick to speaking English while we're in France. My spanners are in England. Not a big problem. The shop that I went to this morning sells things such as spanners, and these are quite a nice looking lot. And I know some of you will say, why didn't I go to a jumble sale or something and buy second hand? I needed them today. Now here's the funny thing, these clay plait, they come on this nice little sort of rack thing, which you can't open unless you've got a cutty thing with you. My cutty thing is in England. Now the problem with sitting around is, while you're sitting around, you start to see things that need doing. You know, I need to be gardening, I need to be cutting grass, I need to be cutting down dead trees. But those dead trees, they were dead yesterday and they'll be dead tomorrow. There's no rush with them, but hidden behind the burning bin is a tree that isn't dead, that will be if it doesn't get some help. So I'm going to give it some help. I think the first help we're going to give it is we'll give it a couple of gallons of water. It's got fruit set on it here and there, so it would appreciate some water, and underneath these trees it sort of gets starved, doesn't it? But it has got some dead bits, so you know, we'll give it some attention, see if we can give it a lease of life. Well, that sort of helps, letting a bit more light get into it. What I'm going to do is clear a space around the bottom of the tree, because, oh hello, don't like you. Yeah, okay, I'll try not to upset him though. One of the things that we enjoy in this part of the world, I was talking to the neighbours over the last few days, and if you look at the base of this tree, there's an oak tree. And you think, how on earth do you end up with an oak tree growing out of a plum tree? Now, if you look up the bird that we all call a blue jay, but if you look up its name in French, it's a jay du chêne, chêne being the French word for oak, because the jays, they fly about half a mile. There's a huge oak tree about half a mile that way, and they pick the acorns and they fly off, presumably to find somewhere quiet to eat them or whatever they do, and some get dropped. So even though there isn't an oak tree anywhere in this lot, we end up with acorns being dropped by the birds. I'm going to clear around the bottom of this tree, clear some ground. I noticed that there's some ivy creeping towards it. That needs to go. You can't expect a tree to compete with ivy. And yeah, plenty more water. And as I was looking at this tree, there's actually quite a bit of fruit in it, even though it looks pretty much dead. But we'll give it some extra chances. Well, time will tell. As I say, this tree has got quite a respectable amount of fruit in it, despite everything. I've managed to take one branch out of that pine tree, which has opened it up and given it a lot more light. I'm going to have to try and work out how to take the next branch out. I haven't actually got a ladder that will get me up there. There must be a way. Yeah, and I've scuffed various things from around the bottom of the tree, the suckers that were growing off the root and the oak tree that was growing next to it, and I've chucked some water in. As I say, we'll see whether that's enough to keep this tree moderately happy. It's in a shocking state, and I know a lot of you would say, look, just dig it out and have done with it. Well, that's all well and good, but you know, I'm working with what I've got rather than what I could have. I'm going to go and have a look at some of the other trees shortly. Every time I walk past this, of course, it just looks more beautiful. But what you can hear in the background is thunder. And the weather has sort of told me that it's time to stop outdoor gardening and think about doing some indoor work. So yeah, we do some stuff in the barn. You know, it's always interesting to look at signage, and what this actually says is pray, do not park here. It's an exit for cars, but it just made me smile that they're praying that we don't block their exit. But then I just thought this was something to do with telephones or electric cables. But perhaps it's a grave. You know, are there 36 people buried in there? I don't know. That's the joys of working in a foreign language, isn't it?